biting chill of the abandoned mine shaft was a welcome counterpoint to the simmering rage beneath my tailored suit. Emma's shrill accusations echoed, bouncing off the damp stone walls, each word a chisel chipping away at my carefully constructed composure. My hand, instinctively, went to the tarnished silver ring on my right finger, twisting it, the cool metal a familiar anchor in the rising storm. She couldn't see it, of course, not in the dim, flickering beam of my cheap flashlight. But her words were a direct assault on my very being. "You planned this." "You always do," she shrieked, her voice cracking, and I felt that familiar, dangerous heat behind my eyes. This wasn't just about being lost, this was about control. My control. That was the moment I realized I'd pushed too far, that the threads of my carefully woven life were fraying. But the unraveling truly began 3 days prior, with a deal I couldn't resist, a deal, like so many others, designed to elevate me, Victor Kane, above the squalor of my past, to prove I was no longer the helpless boy who watched his brother fade. I'd always considered myself an architect of experiences, a maestro of moments. So, when Emma's incessant complaints about our relationship reaching the rocks grated on my nerves, my mind, ever the strategist, conceived a solution, a proposal. Yes, but not just any proposal, a spectacle, something unique, unforgettable, a testament to my singular vision. A romantic dinner, predictable, pedestrian. No, I envisioned something grander, something that would subtly reinforce my artistic sensibility and my penchant for the unconventional, the abandoned mine. A stroke of genius, I thought, its depths, a metaphor for the hidden complexities of a relationship, yet its final chamber, renowned for a peculiar glittering rock formation, would be the perfect backdrop for my grand gesture. The dim light would catch the mineral deposits, creating a natural, ethereal sparkle far more authentic than any contrived restaurant ambiance. Besides, it was free. Every penny saved was a penny closer to erasing the phantom hunger pains of my youth, to escaping the shadow of that crumbling tenement. I'd secured the ring, a placeholder, of course, the real one, a dazzling diamond I'd acquired through a rather creative financial arrangement, was still en route. But Emma needn't know that. Perception was everything. People are so predictable, I mused, adjusting the cuff of my impeccably tailored blazer. The cedar and amber cologne a subtle, confident cloud around me. Give them a unique experience, and they'll be putty in your hands. Pathetic, really, but useful. The first minor tremor in my meticulously planned facade occurred with the unexpected arrival of Tabby and Jason. A double date. My lip twitched imperceptibly. I despised spontaneity, especially when it threatened to dilute the carefully concentrated essence of my performance. They were, frankly, unremarkable. Still, I was Victor Kane. I could adapt. I would simply orchestrate their departure with a few well-placed suggestions. A touch of my signature charm. Just another set of pawns to move on my board. We met them at the mine entrance. Emma, predictably, was already in a foul mood, her massive purse, a monstrosity of impracticality, swung awkwardly against her hip, and her delicate, fashionable shoes were entirely unsuited for the hike. "I told you to wear something sensible." "Darling," I'd purred earlier, masking my internal exasperation. "But you're always so determined to look glamorous. Aren't you? It's part of your charm." A subtle jab, disguised as a compliment. She'd bristled, but the seed of doubt about her own judgment had been planted. Her refusal to leave the purse in the car, her insistence she had no other shoes, only confirmed my private assessment of her limited foresight. I offered Tabby and Jason a broad, disarming smile, the kind that promised camaraderie. "Good to see you two just discussing the latest exhibition at the V&A with a curator I know there," I began, dropping a name that would impress them, even if the discussion was entirely fabricated. We chatted, the banalities of their lives washing over me. As I waited for my moment, when Emma, bless her predictable habits, stepped away for a smoke break, a habit I subtly encouraged. Knowing it made her feel rebellious and therefore more susceptible to my influence, I seized the opportunity. I leaned in, my voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper, a carefully cultivated blend of vulnerability and excitement. "Could you two perhaps give us a moment alone when we reach the dead end? The one with the glittering rocks," I asked. A touch of a nervous chuckle. "I need to ask Leah something, rather important." Tabby's initial reaction was strange, almost mournful. "Oh, Jamie." My internal alarm bells chimed. Jamie, that was the original narrator's name. Ah, a mere slip of the tongue. I quickly dismissed it. "Jason, bless his simple heart," interrupted quickly. "No problem. Mate, we'll leave you to it." Relief, a fleeting, almost imperceptible tremor, passed through me. They were pliable. Good. With my plan seemingly back on track, we ventured into the cool, dark maw of the mine. Emma walked beside me, her silence punctuated by the rhythmic tapping of her phone. No signal. Of course, pathetic, how dependent people were on their devices. I felt a flutter of something akin to nervousness, a sensation I rarely permitted myself to acknowledge. This was it, the moment I would bind Emma to me, irrevocably. I needed to appear natural, effortlessly in command. Then, Tabby, bless her simple-minded heart, stumbled. "Oh, I forgot. My water bottle in the car." Her voice was a theatrical whisper. "Jason, ever the loyal hound." Took her hand. "I'll help you look for it." And just like that, they were gone, vanishing into the mouth of the mine, leaving us alone far sooner than I'd anticipated. A minor deviation, but one that served my purpose. Excellent. "Let's hurry up so I can get home before I miss my show," Emma announced, her voice flat, devoid of the soft anticipation I expected. She took the lead, her silhouette disappearing into the gloom. "We can always stream it later." "Darling," I offered, my tone light, a subtle reminder of my generosity. She shot me a look that could curdle milk, a nasty, venomous glare entirely disproportionate to my innocent suggestion. Where was my sweet Emma lately? She'd been difficult, easily annoyed, always on her phone, a constant barrier between us. It was unsettling. A tiny crack in the edifice of my control. I ran through my mental Rolodex of recent interactions, searching for a misstep. No, it must be her inherent emotional instability. We walked in silence. My phone buzzed in my pocket, a text from Jason. "Good luck, mate." I smiled, then frowned as my phone died, the screen going black, annoying, but not critical. Emma's still worked. I slipped mine back into my pocket. A minor inconvenience. The path to the glittering chamber was straightforward, a long tunnel. Then a three-forked path, the left leading to the prize, the other two mere dead ends. Emma let out a frustrated sigh, her phone clearly experiencing similar issues. We reached the entrance to the glittering room. "That rock looks like a dagger, doesn't it?" I observed, pointing. My voice a touch too eager, my mind, usually a wellspring of witty repartee, was blank. Emma merely glanced at the rock, unimpressed. Her face, in the dim light, was a mask of indifference, not a flicker of awe. My heart, a carefully guarded fortress, sank. This wasn't going as planned. The grand spectacle, my masterpiece, was falling flat. "I want to leave," she announced, her voice echoing in the cavern, shattering the delicate illusion of romance. My carefully constructed world tilted. I had envisioned a gasp, a tear, a delighted acceptance. Not this blunt, unfeeling rejection of my efforts. It was an affront, a personal insult. I felt the familiar heat of rage begin to coil in my gut, but I suppressed it, forcing a calm, defeated sigh. "All right, darling, let's meet up with Tabby and Jason." My voice sounded small, defeated. A performance, of course, designed to elicit sympathy. My hand instinctively sought the ring box in my pocket, its weight suddenly oppressive. I needed to regroup, to devise a new strategy. Today was clearly not my day to conquer her. But I would conquer her eventually. I always did. We retraced our steps, or so I thought, the three-forked path. We'd taken the left to get in. Simple. So, walking straight back should have led us to the main path, the one with the inviting glow of the entrance. But there was no light, just darkness. I chose the left again, a gut feeling, only to find ourselves looping back to the same three-forked path. A nervous chuckle escaped my lips, a sound I immediately regretted. Emma, unimpressed, tapped her foot. I decided on the right, and we looped back again. My phone, still stubbornly dark, mocked me. I wanted to text Tabby, to demand a map, but it was useless. Perhaps the rocks, with their strange glittering magic, were interfering with the signal. We had tried the two side paths. Logic dictated the middle one. "We're never getting out of here," Emma whined, her voice laced with an irritating self-pity. I didn't blame her for the annoyance. Not entirely. We had been trapped for what felt like an eternity, at least half an hour, in this suffocating darkness. But her whining was grating, a constant reminder of my perceived failure. How was this possible? A simple mine, a few forks, one had to lead out. I had been so certain of the middle path, but now, as we rounded a corner, my flashlight beam landed on the familiar dagger-shaped rock, then the glittering walls of the dead end. We were back where we started. My stomach churned. This was not merely an inconvenience, it was an existential threat to my control. "See, I told you," Emma hissed, her frustration boiling over. She rummaged in her monstrous purse, pulling out a pack of cigarettes. She had promised to quit. Another broken promise, another flaw in her character. The thought of her lighting up in this enclosed space, filled with who knew what ancient gases, sent a shiver down my spine. The very thought of an explosion, of being trapped, helpless, reminded me too vividly of Peter, of the suffocating feeling of being unable to save him, to escape the squalor. "Perhaps you shouldn't smoke in here, darling," I offered, my voice meek, a rare vulnerability I hated. "Give me one good reason," she snapped, her eyes narrowing. I had none. My mind, usually so sharp, was blank. I had brought her here for a spectacle, not a scientific expedition. The guilt, a familiar unwelcome guest, began to creep in. I turned away, feigning an interest in the shimmering wall, trying to recalculate, to find a hidden passage. Then, a sound, soft footsteps, echoing down the tunnel. Not Emma's. My heart hammered against my ribs. I spun on my heel, shining my flashlight into the darkness, expecting what a rescue party. My imagination was running wild. My beam landed on a boy, blonde hair, almost luminous in the gloom, big blue eyes that seemed to absorb the dim light. He wore flip-flops, the source of the strange. Slapping footsteps, his t-shirt, several sizes too big, hung loosely on his small frame. He couldn't have been older than 13. Emma, ever self-absorbed, gave him a dismissive side-eye, not bothering to acknowledge his presence. "Hey, little guy, what are you doing down here?" I asked, my voice softening, a practiced empathy. My primary concern was still our escape. but the sight of a child alone, vulnerable, stirred something in me, a flicker of that old, buried instinct to protect, an instinct that had failed Peter. "Mushroom collecting," he replied, his voice small, almost reedy. I stared, confused. He opened his hand, revealing a mushroom that seemed to shimmer with the same texture as the glittering rock walls. He tucked it into a baggy pocket of his shorts. A strange, almost unsettling detail. "What are you two doing down here?" he asked, his blue eyes shifting between Emma and me. "Clearly, we're having fun," Emma snapped, dropping her cigarette and grinding it under her heel. Her petulance was boundless. I ignored her, a silent plea to the boy that this was not my usual company. I needed him. He seemed to know something. "We actually got a bit lost, mate," I said, adopting a sweet, almost deferential tone, hoping to counteract Emma's abrasive attitude. "Could you perhaps show us the way out?" The boy, Ian, as I would later learn, gave us a long, assessing stare, too long for a child. Then, a slow nod, relief washed over me. I thanked him, a genuine smile spreading across my face. We began to follow him. I reached for Emma's hand, a comforting gesture. She snatched it away. "Why are we trusting a kid to get us out?" she hissed, not even attempting to whisper. "Because he knows the way." "Darling, it doesn't matter if he's a child or not," I replied, my voice calm, controlled. "All right, fine, don't snap at me." I hadn't raised my voice, not an inch. Her paranoia, her stress, was making her irrational. We walked in silence, following Ian's small, confident form deeper into the labyrinthine tunnels. A faint whiff of fresh air brushed my face, stirring a fragile hope. I noticed more mushrooms, camouflaged perfectly with the rocks, their strange, shimmering texture almost identical. Curious. "There's no way this kid is going to get us out," Emma muttered under her breath. A constant drone of negativity. "This way," Ian announced, his voice barely audible. I hadn't asked his name. We rounded a corner, and I stopped dead. My jaw slack. Before us was a solid wall of rock, a dead end I had never seen, never accounted for. This made no sense. We should have reached the three-forked trail. I walked forward, placing my hand against the cold, unyielding stone, as if to test its reality. "That doesn't make sense," I finally managed, my voice a whisper. "I told you he would get us lost," Emma shrieked, her voice nearing hysteria. She stormed off, digging out her cigarettes again, fiddling with her useless phone. I turned to Ian, who, disturbingly, remained entirely calm, his blue eyes unreadable. "What's your name?" I asked, my voice low. He opened his mouth, then shut it, his gaze evasive. He clearly didn't trust strangers with his name. I couldn't blame him. "How about a nickname?" "I'm Victor," I offered, a disarming smile. I extended my hand, a gesture of goodwill. He fidgeted, debating internally. Finally, he decided, his blue eyes framed by wavy blonde hair, looking up at me. "Ian," he whispered. "That's a good name. Ian. I like it. We'll get you home, don't worry. How about we head back and see if we somehow missed a pathway in the dark," I said. My hand still extended, a fleeting memory of a smaller hand, Peter's hand, that I had failed to hold on to. I almost withdrew it. But Ian took it, his small fingers surprisingly firm. He seemed excited. Someone should teach him about trusting strange men in caves. Emma looked back, her face a mask of disgust. "We're not having one of those." "So don't get used to it," she spat, taking the lead again. In that moment, a flicker of genuine disdain for Emma, a cold, sharp blade, pierced through my carefully constructed indifference. What had I ever seen in her? My mind chided me. She was stressed, not herself. I forced a comforting smile for Ian, and we resumed walking, and walked. My phone clock, a useless relic, kept glitching, looping backwards, mocking my desperate need for a sense of time. Hours, perhaps days even. I had brought no supplies, no water. My body, accustomed to the finest things, began to protest. Thirst gnawed at my throat. Surely, Tabby and Jason would have noticed our absence. But how long did it take 3 days without water? Peter. The thought, a cold, sharp shard, pierced through me. The helplessness, the burning shame. I would not be helpless again. We came with some friends. Ian, I said, trying to comfort him, to reassure myself. They left before us. When they see we haven't come out, they'll send someone. As if Emma snapped from behind us, her voice echoing. I bet those two just went right home in their finished dinner and in a nice warm bed by now. Please, darling, let's not do this right now, I pleaded. My voice strained. I was mortified. Ian, tucked behind me, was forced to listen to her vitriol. Do what fight? Because you have it coming. Why did you even bring me down to this shitty place if you were going to propose? Why didn't you take me somewhere normal? Her rage escalated. She tore off one of her delicate shoes and hurled it at me. It missed. Sailing past my head, her tantrum was pathetic, childish. Yet it stung, a direct attack on my judgment. You knew, I asked. The ring box in my pocket suddenly weighing 100 pounds, a symbol of my failed manipulation. Duh. Hand it over, she demanded, extending her hand. What? My mind raced, searching for an excuse. A lie. The ring. Hand it over. I should at least get it after suffering through all of this. A slight tug on the back of my shirt, Ian peeking from behind me. His small face mirroring the disgust I felt for Emma. I placed a hand on his back. A silent apology for the grotesque display. I didn't bring the real one. Darling, I lied smoothly. I just have a fake, a cheap placeholder. The one I ordered hasn't come in yet. It was a classic Victor Kane maneuver: deflect, deny, diminish. She let out a huff of pure, unadulterated anger and stomped off. One shoe missing, putting distance between us. Ian gave me a hint of a smile, a subtle flicker of approval. He understood. I picked up Emma's shoe, tossing it gently in her direction. A small gesture, a final act of condescension. A silent truce was called. Emma chain-smoked at a distance, while Ian and I sat against the cold, hard stone wall. I'm sorry, I said, the words feeling foreign on my tongue. I was apologizing to Ian, not Emma. He shook his head, resting his cheek on his knees, his gaze lingering on Emma's distant form before turning back to me. Is that why you came down here, to ask her to marry you? Yes. My face flushed, even in the dim light, but I swear she's never like this. Have you ever had any fights or gotten in trouble like this? He asked, his blue eyes unnervingly perceptive. Well, no, I confessed. Then how do you know what she's like under stress? I guess it would be nice to be with someone and never have any issues. But if you do, then how are you going to deal with your partner going out of control when you've never experienced it? His words, delivered with a detached wisdom far beyond his apparent years, hit me like a physical blow. This wasn't a child. This was a sage, a trickster. His words echoed Peter's unspoken lessons. You can't trust anyone. You have to be strong. This boy, this Ian, was speaking from a place of profound understanding. Are you speaking from experience? Ian, I joked, a nervous laugh escaping me. A small smile played on his lips. Then his expression returned to its serious, unsettling neutrality. He seemed to be weighing something, a secret. "How do you think your two friends got out of here?" he asked, his eyes still fixed on Emma. "They took the right path," I offered, stating the obvious. Yet a tremor of doubt ran through me. "They took what they thought was the right path," he corrected. I stared at him, the simplicity of his words striking me like a bolt of lightning. It couldn't be that simple. The world didn't work that way. My gaze drifted to the darkness where Emma was still crying. And then, it clicked. The shame of my slowness burned. We're trapped because Emma keeps saying we're going the wrong way. Ian rolled his head on his knees, a subtle movement that could be agreement or dismissal. The first time, when he'd tried to guide us, Emma had doubted him. But this was too profound. I'm not talking about the way out here. Let me make that clear. I'm not saving you. I'm just giving you an example of how things work if someone has decided to be miserable. Sometimes you cannot change their mind. They'll only burden you, dragging you down. Your friends walked out together. "Are you and Emma together right now?" Ian asked, his voice unexpectedly serious. The implication hung in the air, cold and stark. Being trapped in an abandoned mine was a metaphor for being trapped in a terrible relationship. He was telling me to abandon her. My mind recoiled. I couldn't. My image, my persona would shatter. I, Victor Kane, did not abandon people. I used them. I discarded them when their utility expired. But I did not abandon them to die. The thought of Peter alone, helpless, flooded my mind. I couldn't save him, but I'll never be that helpless again. "I can't leave her behind," I whispered, my eyes cast downwards. "Then you'll die." His words were brutal. He stood, waiting, then turned, his small flip-flops echoing as he walked away into the darkness, towards what I now knew was the way out. I sat, listening to his retreating footsteps, and to Emma's soft, self-pitying sobs. She either hadn't heard or didn't care. If I left her, she might never get out. I would be consigning her to death, and if I didn't, I would die here with her, a victim of her despair. She wouldn't hesitate to leave me, I knew that. My decision, when it came, was cold, logical, and utterly devoid of sentiment. If one of us got out, we could send help. A rationalization, a survival mechanism honed by years of scarcity and the indelible lesson of Peter's death. I pushed myself up, my muscles screaming in protest, and followed Ian. It was simple as belief. I expected to see the right path out, and I did. The setting sun, a blinding orange disk, assaulted my eyes as I stumbled out of the cave entrance. My phone buzzed in my pocket. My friends, Tabby and Jason, were indeed heading to their car, wondering if I needed a ride. Emma's still stuck inside, I gasped, my voice hoarse, adrenaline coursing through me. My entire body turned to ice, and they had no idea who I was talking about. I awkwardly ended the call. I frantically scrolled through my phone, my photo gallery, my contacts, my social media. No Emma, no photos, no messages, no Facebook account, no trace. She wasn't just missing, she was gone, erased. The ring, still in my pocket, the only tangible proof that she had ever existed. At least to me, this was a new level of manipulation, a power I hadn't known existed. It was terrifying, exhilarating. "You got out. Good for you." I looked to my side. Ian stood a few feet away, bathed in the red glow of the sunset. His blonde hair seemed almost white. His blue eyes, now tinged with red, held an ancient, knowing look. He wasn't human. "Is she gone forever?" I asked. I had fallen out of love with her in that cave, but that didn't erase the fact that, at some point, I had loved her. I didn't want her to simply fade. It's up to her. All she needs to do is walk forwards. Even if she does get out, you really shouldn't marry her. You're not a good match. His honesty, brutal and direct. drew a small, humorless chuckle from me. This boy, this thing, was right. She was a burden, a liability, like so many others I had shed. "Why did you save me?" I asked. He had gained nothing. Ian fidgeted, tugging at the hem of his oversized shirt, mumbling something I couldn't quite hear. Then, he looked up, and for the first time, he truly looked his age. The intimidating aura vanished. "I didn't save you. You figured it out on your own. And don't hold someone's hand just after meeting them. They might get attached," he snapped, his face flushed, a brilliant red in the twilight. Not anger, but embarrassment. It took every ounce of my self-control not to laugh, tears welling in my eyes from the sheer absurdity of it. The master manipulator, saved by a child's awkwardness. He had shown me a truth, a new form of power simply by being himself. This was a lesson I would never forget. "And I didn't save you," he shouted again, his face still crimson, pointing a sharp finger in my direction. He stomped his foot, huffing, clearly unable to regain his composure. "Thank you for not saving me." I called after him. He didn't look back, but I imagined his embarrassment growing. Time passed. I never learned Ian's true name or what he was. His lesson, however, resonated. The world was full of burdens, of people who would drag you down. Emma was merely the first, a stark, unsettling example. I still occasionally visit the mine entrance, a morbid curiosity if she ever emerges, a spectral figure from the darkness. I won't date her, but I will be there to support her, to guide her, not out of guilt. No, never guilt. Guilt was for the weak. But because I had seen a new form of power in that cave, a power to reshape reality itself, and I needed to understand it. I needed to control it. The memory of Peter, the boy I couldn't save, flickered. But now, I had learned I would never be helpless again. I would master this new reality, whatever it took.